Hi, welcome to the second week of the Esports review. So, just like last week, I'm going to be mainly talking about Counter-Strike, and Eli is mainly going to be talking about Rainbow. Compared to last week, not a lot really happened. Last week there was the Counter-Strike Major, there was a pretty big tournament in Rainbow. This week there were a couple of small, minor Counter-Strike tournaments and a few small Rainbow matches. So with the Counter-Strike, we had two different events going on. We had the Arctic Invitational 2019, which consisted of a lot of Northern European teams. Not a ton of notable names. In the Northern European tournament, Crazy was the largest name team out there. But they would actually end up losing in the grand finals to Furia Esports 2-0, with Furia taking both maps. And map one, Vertigo, which for those who don't know, Vertigo is really new into the pro scene. They took it 16-11, which is it's not a very close scoreline. 5 points doesn't seem like that much, but that means that they were losing a lot of pivotal rounds that could have gotten them back into it, and then the next game was worse. It was 16-9 in favor of Furia on Mirage. So the grand final was really just Furia dominating Crazy most of the way through, beating them at their own game. And then the other tournament we had happening was the Blast Pro Series in Moscow, and this was open to a lot more teams than the Arctic Invitational was, and it had a lot that was noticeable with names like Avantgarde, Force, MIBR, and Mouse Sports all being there. MIBR and Mouse Sports probably being two of the more heavyweight teams. Avantgarde looked really good just coming off of their second place in the major. A lot of people had them as a favorite in this tournament, and for good reason. They ended up winning the entire tournament and the grand final 2-1 to Force. Map 1 was Overpass, and they took it 16-13. That is a close game. Scorelines like 16-11, just a 2-point difference, aren't. But 16-13 means that Force was within striking distance several times throughout the game, while Avantgarde just barely edged them out a couple times. Force's economy was never completely decimated in games. And then game 2 on Inferno, Force beat them 16-12. That is not a close game. 16-12, just a single point difference between 12 and 13. 12 means that you were not getting the rounds you needed to, and that it was not just on the other team being better than you. You were also kind of beating yourselves up at that point. So Avantgarde kind of lost themselves that second map, but then on Dust 2, they absolutely dominate 16-6, which is actually a really common story for Avantgarde. Their Dust 2 is really good, and it speaks to the fact that they're a really new team, and there are these big powerhouse teams in the world of Counter-Strike, like Astralis and Navi and Fnatic, and those teams have been together for a long time, and those teams are so good because they have such a set way of playing on certain maps. And the thing about Dust 2 is that Dust 2 is notoriously known for being chaotic, and that really speaks to Avantgarde's strength, is when it's a map that no one has an extraordinarily structured game plan to play for, they can beat you because of individual skill level in that chaotic game mode. So those were your Counter-Strike results for the week. Now I'm going to pass it over to Eli to talk about Rainbow.
So this weekend we had the GSA Nationals 2019 Switzerland. It was just semifinals and finals, nothing big. And match one of the semifinals, Valito, EC, and M Insanity would play each other. M Insanity would have a 38% chance of winning and would actually win this match 2-1. They'd lose the first match 8-6, which was close, and then they would win the second game 5-7, and then the third 4-7 to move on to the finals. And then in the match 2 of the semifinals, we had Lostic and Team Zero, and Lostic had a 85% prediction chance to win it, and they would actually lose to Team Zero. The first match would be a complete domination, just 7-0. The second, Lostic would come back and win a close one, 8-7, and then the third match was a blowout as well, 2-7. So then advancing to the finals would be Emmy Insanity and Team Zero, and Team Zero would have 57% chance of winning, and Emmy Insanity 43. The first match would go to Team Zero, and it wasn't close, but it wasn't far off at all. It was 4-7, and then the second match, Team Zero would win 1-7, making them look like they were going to be the favorites to win this, and then Emmy and Tanny would come back to win the next 3 matches and win the finals. The first 8-6, the second 7-1, and the last 7-5. And that's it.
All right, so there are your esports results for the week, and we will see you next week with more results.